She kissed me one final time, her lips soft and lingering like a promise and a goodbye all in one. A flicker of sadness crossed her eyes, but it was quickly replaced by a knowing, almost mischievous smile as she slowly pulled away. She glanced toward the door, her gaze filled with anticipation, as though she already knew what was coming. "Well," she whispered, her voice hushed but laced with excitement, "looks like things are just getting started." As if on cue, the door creaked open, and there he was, shirt hanging loosely from his frame. His eyes locked onto ours with an intensity that sent a shiver through my spine. His presence was undeniable, magnetic, and without a single word. He stepped inside, the air between us charged with unspoken promises. "Before we begin," he said, his voice low and commanding, "if you're a regular here and enjoying these stories, take a second to like and subscribe. It's one of the easiest ways to support the channel. Thanks. Now let's begin." The moment he finished speaking, the office seemed to hold its breath. As if the weight of the moment had settled into the room, the door clicked shut, sealing us in a space that now felt far too small for what was about to unfold. Without a second of hesitation, he locked the door and turned toward me, his eyes smoldering with a hunger I hadn't realized I'd been craving. He moved toward me with purpose, his hands strong as they pulled me into his embrace. His lips found mine with an urgency that left me breathless, hot and eager, sparking an electric current between us that surged through my veins. His hands guided me to sit on the edge of his desk. The rough would cool against my skin as I felt the heat of his body draw closer, every inch of him pressing into me. His breath was warm against my ear, a whisper soft but filled with desire. "You have no idea how many nights I've imagined being alone like this," he murmured, his voice thick with longing, each word dripping with the promise of something more. The office, once neat and orderly, was now a blur of chaos, with paper clips and scattered papers slowly drifting to the floor, unnoticed by either of us. Every touch, every movement was a gentle disruption in the quiet, as though the world itself had paused to watch us. And yet, all that mattered in that moment was the feeling of him, the heat of his lips on mine, and the electric anticipation that hung in the air like a storm waiting to break. I could feel the urgency beneath his every controlled movement, a quiet storm brewing just beneath the surface, gaining strength with every passing second. His touch, steady yet brimming with an unspoken desire, pulled me closer to him as if he couldn't quite get enough. I held on to him tightly, my fingers gripping the fabric of his shirt, as though I were afraid to let go, afraid of losing this moment. My head tilted back, exposing the vulnerable curve of my neck, and I allowed myself to lose entirely to the electric intimacy of the moment, our world shrinking to just the space between us. His breathing deepened, ragged and heavy, his chest rising and falling in a rhythm that matched the rapid pounding of my heart. I could feel the tension in his body, coiled tightly, as though he was restraining something powerful, something that was begging to break free. The faint tremble in his fingertips as they held me told me everything I needed to know. He had waited a lifetime for this moment, and it was more than he could have ever imagined. "Please," I whispered his name softly, my voice barely audible, as warmth flooded through me like a wave crashing over the shore. It was as if time itself had stopped, holding its breath along with us, the world fading into a blur. Every second stretched out in a way that felt both agonizing and perfect, as the tension between us built and built until it was almost unbearable. Finally, he exhaled deeply, his breath a warm puff against my skin. For that brief, fleeting moment, he held me close, as though he wanted nothing more than to remain lost in the comfort of our closeness, his body an anchor grounding me in this new reality. We lingered in that silence, the stillness of the empty office around us offering a strange sense of peace, a momentary bubble that kept the outside world at bay. But eventually, the spell broke, and he brushed his lips gently across my cheek, a soft, tender kiss that spoke volumes without a single word. "She's been dropping hints lately," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. My pulse quickened, a knot of unease tightening in my chest as I hesitated, my mind scrambling for the right words to say. "Your wife?" I asked, my voice trembling with a mix of curiosity and something deeper, something that felt like fear. He nodded slowly, his expression calm, almost too calm. Not jealous hints. Curious ones, he said, his eyes never leaving mine. She's been asking questions she never asked before. I couldn't help it. I leaned in, urgency bubbling up within me. Like what? I asked, my pulse racing, an electric tension crackling in the air between us. His fingertips brushed softly against my hand, sending a shiver up my spine. She asked how I'd feel about inviting someone else into our relationship, he said, his voice steady. Yet there was something in the way he spoke that made the words hang in the air with a weight I could feel in my bones. My heart skipped a beat, and I could feel my eyes widening in shock. You're serious? I whispered, disbelief and something else, excitement maybe, swirling inside of me. His smile was slow, confident, and full of something I couldn't quite place. I thought she was teasing at first, he admitted, but his eyes were dark with a knowing that sent another shiver down my spine. I shifted in his arms, the sudden realization making my entire body tense. Do you think she suspects something between us? I asked, my voice low but thick with anticipation. He met my gaze directly, unwavering and steady, and for a moment, I saw something flicker in his eyes. Something protective, something certain. She might, he said quietly. And in that simple, calm statement, I felt both fear and excitement surge through me. The next morning, I woke up with the remnants of him still wrapped around me. Not regret, never regret, but a lingering warmth that clung to me like a comforting, intimate echo of the night we had shared. His presence hadn't left me. It settled in every corner of my mind, like a soft, persistent hum in the back of my consciousness. I blinked, feeling the quiet stretch of Saturday morning around me. No alarms, no rush, no responsibilities to pull me from the cocoon of warmth I had wrapped myself in. The sunlight filtered lazily through the curtain, casting a soft golden glow across the room, the kind of light that made everything feel gentle, as if the world was giving me permission to stay wrapped up in my thoughts a little longer. Underneath the blankets, the scenes of the night before unfurled in my mind, each one vivid and inescapable. His touch, the way his hands seemed to know exactly where to hold me, as if he had memorized the contours of my body. The sound of his voice, low and soothing, whispering things that made my pulse race with both comfort and desire. I replayed every word he had said, every intimate moment where his gaze met mine with such intensity that it felt like he was seeing the parts of me I usually kept hidden. I felt peaceful, yet there was a rush of emotions swirling within me. Contentment, longing, and a kind of quiet euphoria that only comes from being truly seen by someone. Part of me knew I should feel guilty. He was married after all, and the weight of that fact should have crushed the peace I felt in the quiet of the morning. But the way he had looked at me, as though I was completely irresistible to him, was still so fresh in my mind. It lingered in the corners of my thoughts, a knowing that whatever had passed between us had felt real and undeniable. It hadn't felt wrong. It had felt electric, like a current of energy too strong to ignore, too intense to deny. I couldn't help but smile at the memory of how he'd held me, like I was the only thing that mattered in the world, as though time itself had stopped for just the two of us. My thoughts wandered lazily, drifting back to the sound of his quiet voice, that steady reassurance in every touch, the way his eyes held warmth that made me feel cherished. My breath slowed as I allowed myself to sink into the recollection of our closeness. How it had been natural, how it had felt right, as though nothing else existed but that singular connection between us. The vibration of my phone on the nightstand shattered the stillness of the moment, pulling me back into the present with a soft jolt. I reached over, my fingers still slow and hesitant, caught between the lingering haze of memory and the sharp pull of curiosity. Her name flashed on the screen, and my heart did a quick, involuntary flip in my chest. I hesitated, not sure what I expected or what I was about to read. But then the message appeared, and my heart skipped a beat. I know now, but I'm not angry. I'm curious about you. I froze, every thought in my head coming to a screeching halt. His words, the way he had described her growing curiosity, rushed back to me in a flood. I had thought he was teasing when he mentioned it, brushing it off as nothing more than a passing remark. But now, seeing her words in front of me, it hit me with an undeniable clarity. It was real. It wasn't just idle talk. The weight of her curiosity, her unspoken understanding, settled around me like a heavy fog, and for the first time, I realized just how much was at stake. Another message appeared, this time accompanied by a photo that caught me off guard in the most unexpected way. There she was, standing in a casual robe, the fabric draped effortlessly around her, looking so comfortable and at ease. Her smile was warm, almost inviting, but it wasn't the smile that lingered in my mind. It was the way she carried herself. There was something about her expression that was open, genuine, and confident. Her eyes steady and full of unspoken interest, as if the photo itself was a quiet promise, an unspoken invitation to something deeper, something I hadn't anticipated. Beneath the image, two simple words glowed on the screen. "Come over." There was no trace of anger or jealousy in her message, just a pure, unguarded invitation. It was unexpected, certainly, but it wasn't something I could brush aside. There was an undeniable sincerity in her gaze, an openness that made it impossible to ignore. My heart fluttered with a mixture of excitement and curiosity, but this time my thoughts weren't consumed by him. They were completely wrapped up in her. I could feel her presence, even through a mere image, pulling me in, her warmth like a quiet magnet. A soft rush of heat rose within me, but it wasn't the same kind of tension I felt with him. It was something gentler, more intriguing, more complex. I took a steady breath, steadying myself as I focused on the message in front of me. Without hesitation, my fingers hovered over the screen before typing a simple reply that carried with it a weight I couldn't quite explain. "Tell me when." I placed the phone down gently on the nightstand, my pulse still racing with anticipation. Closing my eyes, I let the image of her linger in my mind. Her warmth, her confidence, that inviting smile. Each detail carved its way into my thoughts until, quietly but firmly, her name became the only one that echoed in my head. The reply came just after noon, each word perfectly clear, simple, and full of her signature confidence. "Tonight, come whenever you're ready." I stared at the message for a long moment, my heart beating faster with each passing second, before a burst of energy surged through me. Without thinking too much, I jumped out of bed, suddenly propelled by the clarity of my decision. I showered quickly, the water running over me as if to wash away any lingering doubts, then dressed with careful thought, something casual but with intent. I wanted to look effortless, yet purposeful. Even though there were hours left before the night, the excitement and unease coiled in my stomach, leaving me restless. By the time I finally arrived, my heart was thundering in my chest, louder than the engine of my car. The house was nothing short of stunning, modern and sleek, with sharp lines and clean angles. But it was the warm light glowing softly from the large windows that caught my attention, creating a welcoming, intimate glow that contrasted with the otherwise sleek, polished exterior. It felt like a reflection of her, precise, elegant, but with an underlying warmth that made everything feel perfectly balanced, perfectly her. I took a deep breath, letting the quiet calm of the evening air settle my nerves before I stepped out of the car. Standing at the door, I hesitated for just a moment before I rang the doorbell. The sound echoed through the air, and in that instant, everything seemed to pause. I could feel the weight of the moment, the choice I had made, as I waited for her to answer. She opened the door barefoot, wrapped in a soft, comfortable gray robe that seemed to reflect her effortless, inviting presence. Her feet were bare, the kind of small detail that made everything feel more personal, more real. As she greeted me with a warm, knowing smile, one that felt as though we'd known each other for years, though we hadn't, there was an ease about her that immediately put me at rest. "Hi," she said, her voice gentle, but carrying an undercurrent of something deeper, something that made my pulse quicken in response. "Hi," I replied a little breathlessly, my heart racing slightly faster as her eyes lingered on me, thoughtful and appraising, as if she was seeing me in a way no one else ever had. There was no judgment in her gaze, only curiosity and something that felt like an invitation. She stepped aside to let me in, the movement graceful, effortless. "You're even prettier in person," she remarked softly, almost to herself as she closed the door behind us. The simplicity of her words caught me off guard, sending a flutter through me. I wasn't sure how to respond to such honesty, so I simply smiled, feeling a warmth spread through me. It was an intimacy I wasn't used to, but one that felt oddly natural. I followed her down a hallway lined with art that was sophisticated, yet not overly ostentatious, and the air was filled with a fresh, calming fragrance, clean linen perhaps, or something floral that added to the sense of serenity in the house. It was a place that felt intentional, as though every detail had been chosen with care. As we walked, she glanced back at me with a soft smile, her eyes kind. "You seem nervous," she observed, the words soft but perceptive. There was no judgment in her tone, just an understanding that caught me off guard. "Maybe a little," I admitted, my voice betraying the flutter of nerves that I was trying and failing to suppress. She turned to face me fully, her posture relaxed, almost as though she could sense the uncertainty within me. "You don't have to be," she said, her voice warm and reassuring, as though the very air around her had been charged with a comforting energy. "We both know why you're here." Her words were simple, but they settled over me like a soft blanket, and I nodded, feeling the weight of the moment, the quiet excitement in the air between us, something louder and more profound than words ever could be. Without hesitation, she moved toward me, her eyes soft but knowing, as though she understood everything I hadn't yet said aloud. "I get it," she whispered warmly, her voice carrying a kindness that made my heart ease just a little more. "Neither of us planned this." Her hand found mine gently, and the simple contact sent a soothing warmth through me, calming the nerves that had gripped me since I arrived. "Now that you're here," she continued, her smile reassuring, almost playful, "we have some time before he comes home." The words hung in the air, gentle and enticing, as she leaned in and kissed me softly, her lips warm and tender. The kiss wasn't rushed, but slow and deliberate, like we were both savoring the naturalness of the moment, as though we'd always belonged in it. It was an unexpected intimacy that felt right, like something that had been quietly building for a long time. When she pulled away, she took my hand once more, her fingers warm and sure, guiding me deeper into the house. Without question, I followed, drawn to her like a moth to a flame, the uncertainty melting away as she led me further into this new reality, into this shared moment. As we entered the bedroom, she turned toward me with a confidence that left no room for doubt. Her eyes were warm and steady, unwavering, and in them I found myself drawn in, not by the physical beauty of the room or the surroundings, but by the quiet strength of her presence. She didn't need to say a word. Her gaze was enough to make me feel at ease, to make me feel like I was exactly where I needed to be. Without breaking the connection, she moved gracefully toward the bed, her body fluid and confident, casting a quick glance back to offer a silent invitation that made my heart race. Something shifted inside me in that moment. Not hesitation, not uncertainty, but a profound desire to embrace what was unfolding, to let go of the moment I'd been holding back. I took a step closer, closing the space between us slowly, savoring the tension that built with every inch we drew near. And then, without even thinking, our lips met in a kiss that was tender at first, exploratory, but quickly deepening, as if our mouths were speaking the words we hadn't yet said aloud. Her hands found mine, fingers gently intertwining with mine, and in that simple act, everything between us seemed to fall into place. Every touch, every movement was amplified by the unspoken connection between us. There was no need for words anymore. Each subtle gesture, each slow caress was more than enough. Her fingertips trailed down the curve of my neck, sending ripples of warmth through me, pulling me deeper into her orbit. It was an intimacy I had never known before, a trust so complete, so overwhelming, that it left me breathless, yearning for more. Each touch, each movement was a promise, a silent vow that we were here together in this moment and nothing else mattered. My heart raced, each beat echoing in my chest as the closeness between us intensified, slipping past the realm of simple touches and growing into something undeniably profound, something far more meaningful than I had ever imagined. There was a quiet urgency in the way she moved, in the way she carefully lowered herself onto the edge of the bed, eyes never leaving mine. Her gaze was steady, unwavering, drawing me in, pulling me closer with a kind of unspoken invitation. My body responded instinctively, stepping closer to hers, the warmth of her presence surrounding me, enveloping me in a comforting embrace of undeniable connection. As I moved beside her, our gazes locked, and for a moment time seemed to slow. In that silent exchange, we communicated everything that words could never quite capture. How right this moment felt, how it seemed not just serendipitous but inevitable. The pull between us was magnetic, an invisible thread drawing us closer with each passing second, weaving a bond so deep, so natural, it felt like a part of me I had always known, always needed. Every touch, every movement was a step deeper into the intimacy we were creating. Her fingers, delicate and gentle, brushed through my hair, a soft caress that sent a ripple of warmth through me. Her hands slid down my shoulders, tracing the contours of my back with a tenderness that spoke volumes, deepening the connection between us, layer by layer. Each touch was a deliberate act, a quiet promise that spoke louder than any words could, intensifying the anticipation that had been growing steadily ever since I first walked through her door. Our breathing gradually deepened, matching each other's rhythm in perfect harmony. It felt as though we were sinking together into the very essence of this moment, our hearts and minds aligning in a slow dance of longing and acceptance. The emotional warmth between us built steadily, becoming a wave of desire and understanding that washed over us, leaving no room for doubt. There was a quiet urgency in her movements as she leaned closer, her lips finding mine once more in a kiss that was soft yet urgent, full of everything we had both been holding back. It was a kiss that seemed to seal our connection, carefully guiding us both to lie down together on the bed, our bodies folding into each other in a seamless, natural rhythm. Her hands continued their journey, gently exploring the planes of my shoulders before trailing down the length of my arms with tender, unhurried movements. Each touch was an unspoken affirmation of the closeness we were building, each caress a deepening of the emotional intimacy that was now so palpable between us. The warmth between us was tangible, filling every quiet space, making my heart pound with growing intensity. It was as though every part of me was attuned to her, every nerve alight with the electricity of her presence. In that moment I felt myself surrender completely, allowing myself to be fully vulnerable, to let go of everything I had been holding onto. Yet, in that surrender there was an overwhelming sense of safety, of trust, as though I knew I was exactly where I needed to be. She exhaled softly, a quiet release of emotion that mirrored my own, and I knew in that breath that we were both sharing something far deeper than mere physical connection. It was as though the weight of everything we had both been holding back, the quiet desire, the anticipation, the longing, had finally been exhaled, leaving us both in a place of shared understanding and emotional release. Our bodies relaxed fully into each other's embrace, a deep sigh of contentment filling the air as we remained there, close, wrapped in the silence that now felt sacred, profound. The quiet wasn't empty or awkward. It was full, brimming with the weight of what we had shared, with the raw emotion that hung between us. And in that silence, we savored the aftermath of it all, the tender, quiet aftermath of a connection that had been forged in trust and longing, in vulnerability and acceptance. Our eyes met again, communicating everything clearly without a single word. Just as we began settling into peaceful calm, a gentle sound, the front door opening, broke softly into our awareness. She glanced toward the hallway, then back at me, her smile playful yet deeply knowing. "Looks like it's already time for round 2. The bedroom door opened softly, breaking the silence yet heightening our anticipation. He stepped inside, shirt casually open, eyes filled with quiet yet intense excitement as he saw us together. Without hesitation, he approached confidently, clearly comfortable sharing this intimate space. She rose gracefully, meeting him halfway, her gaze warm and inviting. Her hands gently rested against his chest, helping him ease fully into our emotional circle. She turned toward me, offering a silent yet deeply compelling invitation. I joined them instantly, enveloped in warmth and acceptance. The air around us charged with anticipation. Gentle touches connected us seamlessly, fingertips brushing softly, palms pressing warmly together. Each small gesture reinforced our closeness. His breathing deepened softly as he rested his hands gently on our shoulders, drawing us even closer. She studied him tenderly, guiding him deeper into the powerful emotional connection we'd built. Each quiet breath, every subtle shift intensified our growing sense of unity. The emotional intensity deepened, becoming almost overwhelming. He stepped back briefly, gently catching his breath, clearly moved by the moment. She turned to me with a reassuring smile, softly taking my hand and guiding us all toward the bed. As I lay down comfortably, he joined me, carefully pulling me close. His hands drew me gently toward him, intensifying the warmth between us. Our breathing quickly matched, creating a rhythm of profound emotional closeness that deepened with each passing second. She soon joined us, lying beside me. Her presence instantly amplified the emotion between us. Her gentle kiss sent a shiver of excitement through me, deepening the powerful sense of belonging that bound us together. Each gentle touch, each quiet exhale became more powerful, more meaningful. His hand gently grasped mine. Her fingers tenderly threaded through my hair. We moved together quietly yet intensely, our emotional connection escalating clearly toward a powerful, inevitable climax. My heart raced, my breath deepening as the feeling of being completely surrounded by their warmth overwhelmed me. She shifted carefully, meeting my gaze with unmistakable intimacy, silently inviting me even closer. He carefully settled behind her, gently wrapping his arm around us, completing the embrace that had slowly and perfectly come together. We remained intertwined, breathing softly, emotions building powerfully. Each subtle shift intensified our connection. Warmth flowed through us, gradually filling every inch of space between our bodies until the tension became beautifully unbearable. And then it happened. The intensity reached its powerful emotional peak. My breath caught sharply as a wave of profound warmth washed over me, pulling all three of us into a shared moment of complete vulnerability and acceptance. She sighed deeply, releasing herself fully into the comfort of our closeness, while his breathing slowed deeply, clearly sharing our emotional release. For a long moment, we remained perfectly still, savoring the powerful silence of our shared experience, feeling profoundly connected and utterly complete. Slowly, she shifted again, nestling closely against him while reaching softly for me, ensuring I remained fully included in their warmth. I moved closer, feeling more deeply wanted, accepted, and cherished than I'd ever imagined possible. Her gaze moved warmly between the two of us, eyes bright with tender affection. "Well," she whispered softly, gently brushing my hair back, her voice filled with genuine warmth and finality. "You're truly part of us now. Before you go, tell me one thing. If you were suddenly invited into something like that, wouldn't you happily say yes? Drop it in the comments. I'm curious. And if you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you never miss what's next. Thanks for watching and for being part of this.